Okay, so I've had some questions about how to change the permissions on the screen sharing, specifically to get kids to work together cooperatively, wanting them to work together cooperatively, but not necessarily being able to all completely edit, wanting them to maybe just comment on documents so that a student comes into something and doesn't mess it up. So I'm going to talk through your share setting options. So here we go to screen share. Okay, so let me go over to my Google Doc now. Okay, so in this Google Doc, you'll see that first of all, the Google Doc has to be named. If it's not named, you can't change any of the share settings. And up here in the corner where it says share, this is what you want to do. So you have a couple choices as a teacher. You can, if you're not doing this in the Google Classroom, if you just set up a document, you can share it to your students, and you can just start to type their names. For instance, so I started to type a student's name on my list, and you'll see that at student29J. So it's all in the school directory. If you're logged into your account, it's there. So you can share it with a student that way. But on this right here, you just change it to can comment. So what that does, if you have a student that starts a doc themselves or you start it, and then you change it to can comment right here, and then I'll send one to Connor. So this is one of my students here. And then if you want to add a note, open this and make comments. So, and then make sure the box is checked or notify people, because that way the student will get an email notification, and that's how they will access the other student's document. So if I was a student and I clicked on share and I changed this to can comment, and then here I typed another student's name, and then I sent them the notification, I'll send it to a different student just so you can see. Okay, at student29j.net. I'm just making sure I'm not accidentally sending it to the parents. And then just make sure that the box is checked to notify people and hit send. Okay, so the other thing I want to address too is if kids are all on a document working, this works for a slide too. If they're working collaboratively, and let's say that somebody came in and they deleted other people's work deliberately or on accident. A nice thing about a Google Doc is that it has a revision history. And you can see the history of the document, and it'll timestamp, and if there's more than one student on the document, it'll show their name so you can see who did what when, and you can actually go back in time and restore an old version of a document. So that's another tool if they are working together. I use that a lot when they're making slides, because sometimes a student will accidentally, thinking they're just highlighting their slide and deleting it, and they'll delete the whole thing. So we can go in with it. Well, first of all, I teach them to use the undo button. But if it's too late and they can't restore it, we can go in through the history and restore it. So that's another option. Another thing I want to mention about the share settings is anytime my students are working on something, I have them go into the share settings. If they're accessing through the Google Classroom, I already have that at Rights, but if they're just setting something up, I always have them go into the share settings and change to can edit, and then they send it to me. And so that way I have the ability as a teacher to come in and leave them comments and feedback. So one more time, make sure the document's named. the student, if they're going to share their document with somebody else for peer editing, they're going to click on share. They're going to pull this down to canned comment only. They're going to type the student's name, and it will be in their first name dot last name, and then at student29j.net, their email address should pop up. Make sure that the box will be checked that says send notification, and then they'll hit their send button. By doing that, the other student will get a notification in their email box. They'll get a notification in their email box, so notify, send, and that's how they'll open and access and leave comments. So I hope that was helpful. End of this tutorial.